standing inside a concrete box culvert that was installed to maintain the road structure above. The original culvert likely would have been either too small or failing in that it would have been collapsing. It had to be replaced. The owner hired an engineering firm which would have overseen the whole project over a couple of years. The first phase of the project would have been to install this concrete box culvert. Next year, the company that I worked for got the contract to come in and rehab the creek, which would have not looked like this. It would have been scoured, not effective for fish habitat. We would have come in, installed the concrete fish baffles to aid in allowing the fish to get up to this side of the culvert, which is a really common problem. If it's too smooth or too steep, the fish can't make it up through the culverts. We installed the channels to allow for stop boards to catch any silts that may be washing down. These stop boards can be pulled up and removed if the water's running clean. We would have installed a lot of this gravel. Prior to construction on our end of the job, we would have salvaged as much as we could, set it aside, because it does contain bugs, germs, everything native to this area. So we would have set as much of this clean gravel aside. Sometimes we would have had room for it. We would have dug a foundation for the fish ladder, install a fish ladder, and do all the landscaping afterwards, replacing all the gravels, importing more gravel that the fish generally like for shade, building the pools, the ponds, and the riffles, hiring a landscape company to come in and do all the native planting.
So you came in and were in charge of putting in the fish ladder as well as the things we see behind us.
Yes.
Called
Fish baffles.
Okay.
In some cases they're fish baffles to hold back a little bit of the water so that the fish can gain speed in a pool and jump into the next pool to gain altitude, to gain elevation, to get above. Mm-hmm. In this case, I'm not entirely sure why. We have a perpendicular baffle about 2/5 of the way across the opening. Mm-hmm. We also have, at a 45-degree angle, a separate baffle. In my opinion, this is done to retain some of the gravels, some of the natural habitat, as it were.
Yeah. So what we have on the bottom here isn't gravel at all. It's just the bottom of the box culvert, which has about 1/4 of an inch of water in it right now because it's August and low flow time. This is also known as the fisheries window, which is when most in-stream construction is done.
So we would come into a culvert like this, build a wooden form, and as long as there's no water flowing through here, we can dump the concrete into the forms, come back a couple days later to strip the forms off, and this is our end product. They are retained by 1-inch bolts, so that in the event of a huge storm, if any of these rocks were to dislodge, come down, they would not
Sweep everything away.
Not clean it right off.
An interesting feature that I'm just noticing now is the way in which these are oriented. If you can get a good shot there with any light reflecting, is we have a series of pools and riffles. So riffles being the kind of the rapidy water, anything with a little shimmer to it, and a series of pools. So allowing different types of fish to come up through here is probably the reasoning behind both having pools and riffles and the orientation of the baffles. What kind of fish might we find here?
Coho.
Coho.
Yep.
Very
So
good.
you're going to find, yeah, some on it. Lots of bugs too.
Yeah, I was just noticing earlier in this pool we have some caddisflies, some water striders, and we saw a couple of little tiny fish dart in there. So even at low flow time, there's still some activity.
In regards to the maintenance, as you can see on the side of the channel, the box culvert bolted to the face, there's some channel on both sides, in which case you can drop stop logs or stop boards or sheets of steel down here, and depending on flows and how much debris is washing down, this is used to retain deleterious substance, gravels, silt, and they can back up their heavy equipment and excavate it out if it's a problem.
Yeah. Oh, great. So you mentioned, you know, you have like a big 25-year storm event coming and wiping out some of your baffles. What other concerns from an engineering perspective are you worried about when you designed this restoration project? When you were working through this restoration?
Runoff from the roads, this pipe over here.
Yeah. So we have a 8-inch diameter, 12-inch diameter pipe that probably is just coming right from the roadside above us.
Yep, there'll likely be a couple of catch basins up here.
Great.
Worried about slope stabilization, in which case you plant them, you want to prescribe trees that are going to root quickly and deep. In this case, you have the willows. They grow very quickly, very effective in this situation. They grow quickly, choking out the salmon berries, which seem to be a common problem. Lots of canary grass helps stabilize the dirt.
Great.
Lots of rock, as you can see through the trees. There's lots of cobbles, lots of the 300 millimeter size cobbles.
Yeah.
Lots of armor, riprap. The outside of the corner, you notice like the inside of the corner, it's smaller gravels outside, which is going to take the heavy abuse. It's a bigger rock.
So when you talk about vegetation, would you or your company or someone come in afterwards, they would be planting these,
Yes.
and that would be planned. It would
Yep.
be prescribed for the area that they're in.
So in the design stage, a hydrologist would come up with stream widths. The structural engineers would come up with design of walls and such, and a plant technician or a planting technician would prescribe indigenous plants.
Let's talk about the lifetime of this structure and what you can do to preserve it, or how would you know that this project would have come to an end? From an engineering mechanisms. How would you know it's getting degraded and not functioning as how it originally intended?
Constant monitoring. You, in the budget, in the engineering budget, you would set aside some money or have money set aside to come back every year or every 2 years, monitor things like plant life. Were the rocks the right size? Did they all roll downstream? Did they get lodged in the culvert? Are they staying put? Is the concrete, is the pipe large enough? Are the plants holding up? Filter fabric behind us, has it been exposed? Has it been scoured clean? Maybe we shouldn't have used filter fabrics. Maybe we should have used something else or not used filter fabric at all. Weirs, are they effective? Is there gravel built up where it should be? Yeah, are the rocks moving? That's the biggest one. Are the walls being undermined?
Undercut, great. In your opinion, is this still a healthy restoration project?
Judging by the plant life, the insect life, the fish, I'm going to have to say the fish are making it up here, and ultimately that's the main thing, to get the fish back up to their headwaters so they can spawn.
Great. Vandalism is always an issue, and there's a fence located up here that we had to climb around. There's plenty of graffiti behind us. What kind of negative impacts can vandalism provide to an ecosystem restoration project?
Shopping carts. Perfect example. Shopping carts and bicycles do not make nice habitat for fish. They block the channels. It takes a small storm, a small event to put a little bit of gravel in a shopping cart, and after that it just becomes a trap for pop bottles and paint cans and tires. Now you have essentially a gabion basket full of rock and garbage. Now it's deflecting the flow, it's causing scouring somewhere else. It's a constant problem. Monitoring and maintenance are required much more often to clean it up. Luckily, you know, I don't see anything here.
It's remarkably clean.
Sometimes we roll into a place and you can't get to the water. Through the garbage that's dumped up on the side, spilling over the edge, blocking the stream. I guess it is creating a false habitat for some of the wildlife, but it's creating more problems down the road.
Citizen science is becoming a bigger and bigger part, with larger and larger cutbacks done by our federal government for things like monitoring and maintenance. Do you see a role for citizen science in maintaining and monitoring places like this?
Absolutely. Neighbors should step up, take responsibility, and help out. Absolutely. It's their backyard. And it is. I mean, in order to maintain a healthy ecosystem, obviously the municipalities and the governments aren't holding up to their end. They can't afford it, or it gets lost in the paper shuffle. But neighbors should absolutely maintain. Maybe that's why it's so clean down here.
Yeah.
Maybe the neighbors are keeping it clean.
Oh, absolutely. So looking at some alternatives, you said that this culvert was already here. What would be some alternatives to these baffles or weirs that would provide the same amount of ecosystem function?
A natural
think of?
open bottomed culvert, or a multi-plate metal arch, so that you can keep the original gravels. Now, a culvert like this can be installed in several days, whereas a multi-plate culvert, you're looking at a few weeks, so it's a time thing. This being the only access to the homes above, that would have been a consideration as well. Can we as the owner shut this road down for a month while the project takes place? No, we can't. We have people that live here, so we have to do it like this. This is a quick solution.